Hey, it's Jack, and this video is if you want a committed relationship, stop doing this one thing. Thanks to those of you who've subscribed to the channel. If you haven't, just click the link below this video and tap that bell icon so you're notified of new videos, at least 2 new videos coming out every week. And we've had something like 1,000 subscribers in the last week alone. So please join us on this journey. Now, you're here because you want a committed relationship. And that's awesome. I would love to support you in getting that. And this video is really a call to wakefulness, and it's a call to reorient to a particular part of the dating and early stage of relating process in case the way you've been orienting to it has actually been hindering you from the very thing that you want, a committed relationship. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna distinguish for you something about falling in love. Now, falling in love, done it many times. It's an amazing thing. And if you haven't fallen in love, I really recommend you do it. And do it as many times as you need to do it. It's an amazing experience. It's engulfing, it's enriching, it's merging with another being. It's all sorts of amazing and intoxicating things. Now, what it isn't, I want to suggest to you, is the most sober assessment of long-term relationship potential. You can fall in love with all sorts of people. That doesn't mean that that person is a good person for you to be in long-term relationship, or that actually sort of long-term relationship is kind of on the cards, that potential exists between you. You know, falling in love can happen in many ways, right? You can fall in love because you really see parts of yourself reflected in another person. You can fall in love because you're merging with another person, and that reminds and kicks up some of your earliest feelings of merging with a caregiver. You can fall in love because, like the pendulum swing falling in love, as I would call it, right? Where your previous relationship, you were really down on a particular thing, like maybe your partner never showed up, or maybe they were really bad with money, or maybe they weren't very fun, and now this new person is all the things that the old person wasn't, and you're like, oh my gee, thank you so much, this is amazing. And for a while it is, until it isn't, right? So falling in love, I want you to think about it like it's an intoxication, and it's a great one. It's an amazing experience, but it's a kind of intoxication in the sense that it makes it hard for you to have a certain amount of sober objectivity. And you might say, look, Jack, we're talking about romance, we're talking about relationship. Why are you talking to me about sober objectivity? And I'm talking to you about it because it might be the missing piece to your making some good relationship decisions. Right? So I'm not saying don't get intoxicated. I'm just saying don't make all your decisions from a place of intoxication. Realize there are other places that you can look at relationship that may unlock information that is really important to you. So if you are having the experience that you fall in love and it's great, and then it's not, and then you can't get back to the thing that you want, I want to invite you to the possibility that you don't need to chase that feeling. Right? That if falling in love is happening, you can allow it to happen. Just realize, maybe this isn't the place I'm making my decisions from. It's a kind of journey. I'm going to enjoy that journey. And then at a certain point, for a lot of people, whether it's weeks, months, 18 months, 3 years, there is a certain point, and it's normally a lot sooner than 3 years and 18 months for most people, where that starts to wear off, and then you get to see kind of what's really here. And that's what I'm trying to point you towards, is I don't need to get back to a particular feeling. I actually need to date what's in front of me. Anytime you're dating the past or the future, you've got a problem, right? You want to be present to what's actually in front of you. And just speaking from a place of inner work or a spiritual place, anytime you are kind of going after a particular feeling and trying to induce a particular feeling or recreate a particular feeling, chances are that you're not very present to what's actually happening right here, right now. Chances are that you're kind of manipulating or interfering with your experience, and your practice might be to learn how to actually be with what is here. And if what is here is we're on the other side of falling in love, and there's actually not that much of a connection anymore, or there's not that much authenticity or realness or aliveness, then okay, this might not actually be the connection for you. Aliveness, by which I mean your kind of ability to be yourself and to have a sort of natural arising of authenticity and engagement in the relationship, that is a much better indicator, I believe, than how did it feel when we were falling in love, right? That if you're, and it's difficult because that experience is so arresting, right? It's also like when there's really high sexual chemistry running, that can be so arresting that it's difficult to have a little bit more of a sober assessment. But if you've been around the block a little bit and you're really clear, I'm not just out for experiences and dating, I actually want a long-term committed relationship, then you may have to adjust your strategy, right? There's plenty of experiences that you can go have in the world that have very little to do with long-term relationship compatibility. So I'm trying to help you distinguish that the place you may have been looking is not really serving you, and you may need to pay attention to a more subtle energy, right? If that's a bit more of a gross, arresting energy, there's a more of a subtle energy of what's it like to be with this person? Like, do we have to manufacture excitement? Like, do we have to kind of hype it up to enjoy one another's company? Or is there this sort of sense that, at a deeper level, our beings, our souls, however you think of that, they kind of get on. They kind of like each other's company. We kind of are drawn to each other in that way. And there's a natural, I'm calling it aliveness today, there's a natural engagement, aliveness, richness, authenticity that's nothing to do with it being manufactured, it being performed, it being whether I have to put on my best face or I have to be on my best behavior with this person. None of that stuff. Now, if you've had the experience of falling in love and then on the other side you're like, this ain't so great, I just want to say I feel for you. I've been there, and it's kind of crushing in some ways, and it can be seriously confusing. I wish back in the day I'd known about this, because I spent a long time trying to get back to how I felt at the beginning of a relationship, rather than just noticing and being present to and being okay with, well, what is actually really here. And yeah, so if that's happened for you, I feel for you, and it's okay. And this is your opportunity to actually do something that might really help you. So let me ask you a question. What would it be like for you if you didn't really pay any attention to the feeling of falling in love that had anything to do with whether this was a good partner for you? What is it like for you if you really like and are kind of addicted at some level to that merging quality, right? That some traditions, they even call it merging gold, that quality of like just being enamored, enmeshed, enloved, enraptured with one another, just kind of taking each other in this intoxicated way. What would your life be like if you didn't pay attention to that, right? If you just enjoyed that for what it is, but that has nothing to do with, is this my partner? Is this my soulmate? Right? Just in the same way that you can have all sorts of experiences literally when you're intoxicated with some kind of substance or something, some kind of chemical, some kind of drug, journey, whatever. But that doesn't really necessarily get you closer to the reality of the things that you want for your day-to-day life and a day-to-day relationship. Now, it might be that you learn something really important by falling in love with someone. There might be some lesson you learn, and that's beautiful as well. So I'm not discounting any of that stuff. I'm just inviting you to look in the right places. And for those of you that haven't been having it happen in long-term relationship, I want to invite you to get better at noticing the qualities that really matter to a long-term relationship. Noticing things like, do we have an ability to work through problems? Do we have an ability to keep coming back together? Is there some kind of constancy to the way that we connect? Do we like each other's company when we're not having to perform or amp or hype or do anything? Like, is there this background way of being together that we appreciate? Do I have some kind of knowingness? Nothing to do with my feelings, reactivity, or intoxication. Do I have some kind of knowingness about this person? That this is my person? That this is the person that we're kind of meant to do something together in this lifetime? And again, these things are difficult to discern. I'm not saying that's the easiest thing, but you might get the difference between, let me make a distinction. So the kind of excitement that you might get on a night out in Vegas, right? If you're kind of hitting it, getting drunk, taking stuff, doing whatever you're doing, that's a different kind of excitement than the excitement of connecting with your heart and your mission, or something that you just care about. Whether you feel up or you feel down, you care about. It's not necessarily exciting, like it's like rah, 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 but there's just a quiet knowingness that, if you care about the environment, or if you care about animal welfare or children's rights, or healthy food, or whatever your passions are, there's a way that there's a loud part to that, but there's also like a quiet part to it, that you're just meant to do this. Even some of the things that maybe as a child you just, were always reading, or you were always tinkering with things, or breaking things apart, or fixing them together, or just being a listening ear or caring for someone. There are things that kind of come to you that there's a quiet quality of knowingness that this is who you are. This is some of the stuff that life meant for you. Even if sometimes there's some weirdness in there, right? Like maybe you overgive, or you over-tinker, or you spend too much time engrossed in books. Yes, that could be true, but there's also this sort of quality of affinity. Maybe that's a way of saying it. There's an affinity that you can start to look for between you and another person that is beyond physical attraction. It's beyond sexual chemistry. It's beyond the intoxication of falling in love. It's something different, deeper, purer, more transcendental, more known, however you want to think about that. I just want to invite you into the possibility that how you know yourself in relationship and how you know another person may come from a different place than how do I feel about them, particularly if it's a reactive, heartful, kind of gushy emotion. Just enjoy that for what it is, like an ice cream. But don't base your decisions about long-term relationship on ice creams. All right, I hope that makes sense. As always, questions and comments, welcome below this video. What's your experience? What have you noticed? What might you choose to do differently in relationship? Where has falling in love actually taken you